Okay. So welcome to gentle yoga for your health. And I think as we're coming together in community today, before we start with our practice, I want to just say a word or two about the value of having a gratitude practice. You know, so much of our attention, as we talked about last week, mindfulness and attention can get drawn in many different directions throughout the day. We can get drawn to the news, we can get drawn into reviewing something in the past or worrying about something in the future. And we talked last week about when we're practicing mindfulness, when we're coming into engaging with a skill like yoga, we're training the mind and the body and the spirit, spiritus in the Latin meaning breath, to come together and to form this focused presence, also known as one-pointedness. But how do we skillfully, when our attention is drawn in so many directions, how do we work with engaging attention in ways that are positive for our health and gratitude, and focusing on what is good, inclining the mind on a regular basis to notice what's right in front of us, what we're appreciating about our lives. You know, it's said neurologically we have a negativity bias. We're hardwired to notice what isn't working, right? So it's said that, you know, bad things that happen stick in our minds like Velcro, while good things just slide off like Teflon. So we have to start learning to flex the gratitude muscle, if you will. And when we do that, we're creating a really positive neurosubstrate, a whole different neurosubstrate than when we're ruminating and catastrophizing. So it's almost like a form of meditation, if you will, to bring to mind and to focus and to savor the things that are working, the things that are right. So let's just try this as an experiment as we're beginning. So if you're comfortable, just closing your eyes for a moment and just noticing that you're breathing. Just let your attention rest on a few breaths. So gratitude brings us out of the stress response into the freshness of our senses. So try this on, right? Try smelling or imagining, if you will, that you're smelling your favorite meal in this moment. As you breathe in, your favorite meal right here in front of you, the smell of that. Imagining that you're seeing someone give you a smile, somebody gracing you with a smile. Imagine really being present in your body to hearing your favorite music. And imagine really, really being in your body and receiving a full hug. Right? So just for a moment, just marinating in these sense experiences, these things that happen on a daily basis for which perhaps there's a deep appreciation. And feeling what happens inside. So where is in the direct experience in the body, as you bring these sense awarenesses to mind, where is the direct experience of uplift or gratitude? See if you can let your attention rest there, and maybe now as you breathe, just imagining that expanding a bit in your physical body. And if you choose, as we draw this brief little experiential practice to a close, you might want to place a hand on the chest or a hand on the belly. Taking a few deeper breaths, just the breath, an opportunity for feeling appreciation for the body, receiving the life force known as the breath right here and now. And if you choose to place both hands perhaps on the chest now, just feel the beating of this amazing organ known as the heart. And you've heard me say this before, but it's a bit of awe, a bit of marvel. That's another cousin of gratitude, awe, that this heart beats over 100,000 times every single day to give you this life. And then we're just going to bring the noble little hands together. So just feeling the palms, let's let this slide right into our mindfulness practice. So just feeling the palms caressing one another, the hands, right? Just these body parts right here, appreciation for just this. How many times do these hands clean each other during the last 3 years of COVID, right? Very intimate partners in all that you do in this life. And then let's just let the hands kind of fingertips walking to the back of the neck and just kind of a little walking up and down as you tuck the chin. I invite you to also begin to just tuck your tailbone, kind of get your little abdominal muscles, your core online. We're going to segue right into a practice here. So just kind of inhaling, you're going to stretch the arms out and just begin to kind of rotate into the wrist and the digits as I start our music. Turning the volume up a little bit. And from here, again, letting your legs be a little bit wider here. See if we can work with this idea of just embracing, like you're moving in for a giant hug with yourself, dropping the chin, belly button drawn away from your shirt. As you inhale, like the petals of a flower, just kind of opening the digits as well. Feel your expanse of limbs, left and right. Exhale, reversing which arm's on top, drawing the energy in. Let's hold here for a few breaths. As you inhale, we're going to bring the elbows up. As you exhale, elbows drawing to the right, gazing to the left, opening the thoracic back. Come back with your breath. Continuing to explore here. Come back to neutral. Let's kind of inhale as we open the arms here. We're coming into cactus arms, if you will. Just pause though for a minute, hand above the pubic bone, hand at the bottom of the rib cage, and just kind of rock back a little bit on your sit bones, get your crunch going, pressing your feet in, your sit bones in, then coming back. So we're just kind of working on opening the body, mobilizing the joint. So on our next in breath, like hands are going up that wall of air. And then as you exhale, feel your shoulder blades gently sliding down your back. Again, like your hands climbing that wall with the in breath. Coming back, we'll do this 2 more times. Hands coming down to the hip crease, if you will. Let's go on ahead like we're a spinning top now as we imagine the torso shrink wrapped, everything drawn in. Staying with your breath, let your shoulders relax at the top of the canister here. And changing direction. come back to stillness. Let's let the hands kind of slide down the thighs a little bit. We're just going to, with our abs engaged, we're just going to hinge forward. So we're not letting the torso go any further than parallel to the ground. As you press the heels of your hands in, press the left heel in as you gently rotate to the right. Come back with your breath, pressing to the other side. If you want to hang out on either side for a few breaths, just kind of like you're putting that WD-40 into the low back, the sacral area. We're always honoring that middle way, not pushing ourselves beyond what's appropriate in the body in this moment on this day. As you come back to center here, you may want to go a little bit more forward, putting your forearms on your thighs. Let's tuck the chin, a little bit of a cat stretch here. So you're pulling the belly button away from the shirt. Now I want you to focus on your back, receiving a little bit of a stretch, not too much, but just right. Imagining the breath funneling in to the back side of the lungs, the back side of the heart. Sometimes our backside doesn't get quite enough attention in our practice and our daily presence. So just being present with any sensations here. A little bit of curiosity. And again, making sure that belly button is drawn tightly in, getting your shrink wrap on, place the palms of the hands. We're going to rise up now with the breath. We're going to heel toe the feet in, and we're going to come right into the seated mountain. So again, that sense of rocking back slightly on the sits bones, that little bit of a tuck, shoulders relaxed and down, pausing here, soft gaze. So we'll go through a seated flow sequence, and then I'll invite those of you that want to come to standing. Again, making the practice always what you need, ignoring me completely if it's not appropriate for your body today. So we're just going to start by letting the arms catch that draft of breath, a few sun breaths, so the arms float up with the breath. And then we turn the palms down. So featuring the arms extending from the center of the chest, can you imagine that sense of extension from the center of the heart? And we'll do this 2 more times. The next time the arms are going to go up, we're just going to do a little bit of that rope ladder, side to side stretching. See if you can feel the intercostals opening just a little bit more with this movement. Come back to stillness. Let the palms find their way together. We're just going to exhale the hands to heart here. We're going to inhale as we draw the elbows in and we weave the fingers. We're going to exhale. We're coming back into a little bit of a seated cow. We're going to inhale as we press through the sit bones. We're lifting the gaze ever so slightly. Exhale the release. Inhale, arms gathering. Holding on to that right wrist, right palm pressing up as we exhale, hinging. Gaze may or may not follow. Now I want you to feel the breath in the mid-torso. So, and also if you have an arm that's bothering you, there's a way to modify always. You can leave an arm down. But I want you to see if you can isolate the breath in the rib cage area and just imagining like an umbrella opening as you inhale, the ribs are expanding left and right. As you exhale, rib cage closing. Taking about 3 or 4 more intentional breaths here. And then slowly rising up with that in-breath. One more time, exhale, palms down to heart. Inhale, elbows together, weaving your fingers. Exhale, press out into seated cat. Inhale, rising up. Exhale, the sweet return to the mountain. Noticing how you feel. Feeling all of the places where the body is making contact with earth and ground. The underbelly of the feet, the flesh of the glutes. Rock back again on your sit bones, re-engaging your core, belly button away from your shirt as you inhale, arms coming up. This time holding on to that left wrist as you exhale, opening the left side body. The gaze may or may not follow. Feeling the rib cage opening left and right. See if you can take a few more deeper, fuller breaths in the mid-torso. Rising up with that breath. Exhaling, hands to heart. Inhale, elbows in, weaving the fingers. Exhale, seated cat. Inhaling again. And exhale, the sweet return. Coming into the mountain. And then let's just explore the shoulders. Say hello to your shoulders, left and right. We're going to honor the shoulders by having an engaged core. We're going to tell them they can trust that they can relax down onto the top and they can get a little more fluid, right? We can just feel the swag of the shoulders, if you will. And then noticing the little neck, there's this corridor where the neck and the shoulders come together. Can you explore a little movement with the head here? And, skillful use of imagination. Can you imagine if there's any lines of tension in the neck or shoulders that you're just inviting that to begin to uncoil? And eventually the hands just melting back onto the thighs. And this part of you that's simply noticing, closing your eyes here for just a brief mindful pause. See if you can notice both the breath. Can you notice also any little bit of relaxation response that may be happening in the parts of the body that we just experienced movement in? So relaxation is a learned skill, right? So much of our culture is about doing and going and checking that list off and planning. Everything we're doing right now is almost the other side of the coin of simply being with ourselves. Notice if there's any appreciation that maybe you're feeling somewhere in the body. Let's take a moment. Before we come to standing, I want to do a little bit of core work, and then those of you that want to can come to standing. So sitting at the edge of your chair, a hand again at the bottom of the ribs, top of the pubic bone. We're rocking back ever so slightly, getting that little bit of engagement here. We're going to have our hands on our thighs, or you can have your hands on your hips. We're going to hinge forward. And what I want you to do as you press your feet in, some of you may not move at all, but if you're not moving, imagine that you are. I just want you to hinge forward and lift up just a few inches, and then you're slowly going to come back down. Everything is shrink wrapped and drawn in. So we're really working on stability and strength as we hinge forward, lifting up slightly and coming back. Trying this a few more times or imagining that you're doing this. If you can land very lightly back down. There's also a bit of balance here, so stability, strength, and balance. We'll do this one more time together. Pause. And the next time you do this, those of you that want to come to standing, letting that be so, coming all the way up. And for this class, I am going to also stand today. So coming to standing. Setting your chair to one side. You may very well want to use that chair for some balance later. Those of you that are remaining seated, you want to spread your legs a little bit wider in your chair. Those of you that are standing, doing the same, hands coming to the thighs here, toes turned out on a slight diagonal. I can give you that look. Toes turned out on a slight diagonal. So it's kind of like you're coming into what we call the horse posture, the feeling like you have your legs are straddling a horse here. And then I just want you to get into a little bit of movement. See if you can feel the relationship between one hip and the opposite shoulder. It's almost like a little crunch on a diagonal. You can play with that. You can play with an extension. And then you're going to also explore that on the other side. So you can almost imagine as if you had an X across your body in the front, and you had that X in the back. Notice where the X comes together. It's right at the hub, the core. All right, can you feel the fluidity of the top of the torso, the bottom, and the movements on the diagonals? And again, we're going to come back to stillness. So we're working with the fascia, which is the membrane that encases all of the organs, all of the muscles. It's the matrix of the body. So some of these movements are designed to stimulate that. Toes now pointed forward, hands on the thighs. We're going to turn the gaze to the right. We're going to inhale that right arm up. As we exhale, we're letting that left hand slide down. Coming back up with a breath, both arms coming up this time. Right arm releases as we exhale, left arm goes up into that gentle arch. Rise up with your breath. Exhale, we're going to continue this. We warmed up earlier with that crescent moon to go into more of a flow sequence now. Beautiful. Let's do this one more time to either side. Come back up. Let's let the arms be shoulder height here. Take a moment. We're going to release that left hand down on the thigh. We're going to do a little neck stretch. So we're going to let that palm of the right hand come up, and then we're going to rotate it so the thumb is towards the ceiling. As we tuck the chin slightly, we're going to drop that left ear towards the left shoulder. See if you can find your just right place for your stretch here. Stretching that bicep tendon, you may be feeling it in the arm here. And then slowly, like that hand's coming down the wall of air, we're just going to let that hand release back down. Head can come back to neutral. Pause here for a few breaths. Noticing any movement of energy with that stretch. Let's bring both arms back up. We're going to release now the right arm down as we flex the left. We're going to rotate so the thumb is up. Press through the palm of that hand, tucking the chin. Right ear dropping towards the shoulder. Feel that just right stretch. And then slowly as you exhale, like that hand's coming down that wall of air. Head will return. Noticing how you feel now. Take a moment as we go into our first forward bend, hands on the hip crease. I'm going to give you a side view here, Seth. Toes again turned out on a slight diagonal. And again, if you're seated, you can obviously do this as well. We're going to tuck the tailbone slightly, get our little crunch on. Everything draws to the midline. And then we're slowly just going to begin to hinge forward. Coming to that just right place for you, keeping that tuck on. And again, if it's appropriate to release into a deeper forward bend, releasing the head below the heart. As long as you don't have any glaucoma or unmedicated high blood pressure, see if you might want to bring a little bit of movement in. Letting yourself be fully breathed here. And slowly we're going to bring the hands back to the hip crease as we rise back up. Beautiful. Coming back up, we're going to heel toe the feet in. Come back into the standing mountain here. Noticing, or the seated mountain, wherever you are, is just perfect. Closing the eyes and just feeling the landscape of the body. So proprioceptive awareness or somatic awareness, noticing where the body is in space. Noticing maybe one hand and then that relationship of one hand to the other hand. Noticing one shoulder and relationship to the other shoulder. Come down into your hips, focusing on one hip, the glute, the buttock, shifting awareness into the other hip, the glute, the buttock, sliding down your legs, feeling your knees left and right, noticing one foot on solid ground, and then noticing the other foot. Now see if you can put this all together, noticing the body as a whole from the soles of the feet, coming all the way up to the face, the head, the crown of the head. Soft gaze as we go through this next flow sequence. We're going to inhale, the arms are going to rise all the way overhead. We're going to step wide, even if you're seated. We're coming into five-pointed star here. We're going to roll the shoulders up and back and down. Take a moment here as we let the hands now come to the hip crease. We're going to lift the toes of the right foot and we're going to pivot the toes towards the wall on the right. Make sure your heels are intersecting. And then we're going to pivot the toes of the left foot. Take a moment, hand again, bottom of the rib cage, above the pubic bone, getting that crunch on. And then we're slowly going to bend that knee. Knee coming over the ankle. We're going to inhale the arms up. Gaze over the fingertips. And coming into warrior two. See if you can roll your shoulders up and back and down here. Lovely. Pausing, noticing. Feel the canister of the torso drawing into the midline like it's shrink wrapped. We'll go through this flow sequence 3 times. We're going to exhale. The head and the hands coming on the same plane. Inhale as we return. Exhale, turn that right palm up. Come into reverse warrior. Inhale, flow back, warrior two. Exhaling into diagonal. Returning with your breath. 2 more times in silence. strong, present, and maybe grateful warrior. We're going to straighten that front leg. We're going to turn the toes. Hands can come to the hip crease. And let's just heel toe the feet in. Take a moment here, returning to the seated or standing mountain. We're just going to inhale again, arms rising up with that breath. And we're going to exhale the hands. We're going to come right into goddess or sun god. So we're just going to let the feet be a little bit wider here for this. Take a moment. Again, we got our core engaged. We know that. Turn the palms forward as we exhale, like there's a magnet that's resisting letting the arms close together. As we inhale, it's like the shoulder blades are trying to kiss in the center of the back. Really keeping that core turned on with this movement. And we'll do this 2 more times. Pausing here, we're going to straighten the legs, or if you're seated, arms are going to return. Take a moment, let's heel toe the feet back in, come back to the expression of the mountain. Closing your eyes. Again, shining that light on the inner landscape of sensations. Can you feel the freshness of being in the direct sense experience? Can you feel the freshness of noticing the body being breathed? And one more time with that soft gaze and a breath, the arms opening to their full capacity, coming overhead, stepping wide, returning again to 5-pointed star. Let's just roll the shoulders again, up and back and down. Before we go further, we'll bring the hands to the hips, lifting the toes of the left foot as we pivot to the left. Toes of the right foot, feel the sense of the heels intersecting, knee coming over the ankle. You might need to inch the toes out. Take a moment, get that engaged core in place. And when you're ready, going into your expression of Warrior 2. Again, can you feel the pressing in of the body, either the buttocks or the feet into the ground and the earth? Can you let that lift and lengthen the spine a little bit? Can you feel the belly button drawn away from the shirt and the shoulders resting at the top of the canister? We'll go through this sequence 3 times as we exhale, the head and hands coming together. We return with the breath. The palm turns up as we exhale into reverse warrior. Flowing back up again with the breath. Exhaling into diagonal. Returning. 2 more times in the just right rhythm for you. Pausing, noticing Let's straighten that leg, pivot the toes, hands to the hip crease. We might want to close our stance just a little bit as we go into one more forward bend. So I'm giving you that side view. Again, core is engaged. Slowly hinging forward to that just right place. Pausing, letting yourself enjoy a few breaths. If it's appropriate and available to go into a deeper bend, letting that be so. Coming back into any movement that feels right here. And then slowly again with that sense of an engaged core as you press through the feet, rising back up with that breath. One more time, arms gathering on the next breath. And we're just going to exhale, palms to heart. Pausing here. Noticing how you feel now. Coming full circle when you're ready. And then we're just going to imagine that we're seek help, and we just want to kind of with that sense of a strong hub in the body or core, we want to explore movement. So we're moving lymphatic matter, we're getting a little juice and synovial fluid in the spine, the neck. All good things, right? Plus, we're honoring the body's wisdom. It knows how it wants to be expressed with movement. And there's a saying that motion is lotion. So you're putting on your lotion right now when you're doing this practice. And when you're ready, just melting back into stillness. Wherever you are, if you're comfortable, just closing your eyes for a few breaths. And notice if there's any gratitude in the air to be had, anything you're feeling for which there might be a sense of appreciation in this moment. Do another little experiment. I want you to imagine that the corners of your eyes are turned up in the gesture of a smile. So we call this skillful use of imagination. You know, the imagination can take us to hell and it can also take us to heaven. So just try this. Corners of the eyes, a little gesture of a smile. Also noticing the body breathing, the opening, the receiving of the breath, the releasing, and then corners of the mouth. Turned up, gesture of a smile. It's like a posture. I'm in my smile posture right now. Taking a few breaths here. You can even imagine one step further that there's a smile right below the belly button. I think the belly button's the nose. There's a smile in the belly. And taking a few more deeper, fuller breaths as you explore this sense of smiling. And then we're going to open the eyes. Before those of you that are standing come back to seated, we'll do a balance posture. This can be done by those that are seated as well. I want you to note that you have your chair here, which is, wise relationship to hold on to the support of the chair. Let the chair be your friend. We're going to do what's called the crane posture, which is exploring coming on one leg. So as you stand here, or as you sit here, you're in the seated mountain posture. And I want you to think of the beautiful sandhill cranes, which will be returning shortly. Some never leave at this point, but those beautiful, graceful birds that cycle back through this area of Florida. So with that soft gaze, a little focus on the horizon, I want you to shift over, and you can do this as you're seated, shift into the right leg or the buttock if you're seated, shifting there. So the left leg becomes a little more empty. And you can come up on your toes. This may be your posture. You can inhale if you want. You can spread your wings, right? You can have a hand on the chair, or you can spreading your wings and bringing that thigh up, right? Pausing here. If you're seated, you can lift your thigh up a little bit off of the chair. Wings spread. Breathing. And play with a little movement in that left foot. Maybe an opening. And then we're slowly going to let that foot return. We're slowly going to come back, pausing. Just notice any energy that maybe got stirred up with that. Going to the other side, find that focal point again. We're going to shift the weight into the opposite leg. We're going to play with lifting, perhaps, the right thigh, the right leg. We're going to play with spreading our wings like cranes. Shoulders can be down, chest is proud, belly button drawn away from the shirt. We may play with opening. Again, you have your beautiful friend, the chair here. Maybe movement in the foot. And we're slowly going to release that leg back down. Slowly returning. Pausing and noticing, closing your eyes, perhaps. And when you're ready, those of you that are standing, we're going to come back into the chair for the remainder of our practice. Just take a moment and notice that transition. All right. We'll do a little bit of core strengthening leg work. And then we'll conclude with a gratitude meditation. So for this, sitting at the edge of your chair, I'm going to give you a side view, making sure your chair is really super stable. There's no chance at all of movement. We can sit at the edge of the chair. We can walk the hands back. Again, we've got that crunch on, and we're engaging our core. And then we're going to kind of lift up a bit of a reverse plank, if you will, squeezing the glutes at the top, or imagining we're doing this, slowly coming back down. Inhale, squeeze at the top, a few breaths, coming back down. We'll do this 2 more times in your own rhythm of what's right for me today. Hands resting on the thighs. We're going to go right into the churning of the butter. So we're going to let the legs be wider. Again, this is what helps me remember to, rock back on the sit bones, tuck that tailbone. And then like I'm zippering up energy, I press my sit bones in, my feet in, and then I drink the breath up the spine. So my chest is lifted, shoulders are relaxed. Stacking the fists here, shoulders relaxed at the top of the canister, belly button drawn tightly away from my shirt. I slowly begin this movement. Deep, full body breaths here. Again, imagining as if there's shrink wrap around the torso, everything's drawn to the midline. And again, going only as fast as you can stay present with all the myriad things that are happening with just this movement. Maybe changing direction at some point. And when you're ready, melting back to stillness again. Lovely. Let's go into another forward bend. It's a good counter stretch on that. So getting your engagement on, hands coming to the thighs, hinging to that just right place for you. Taking a few deeper, fuller breaths. Bringing in any movement that feels skillful for nourishing the body. Come back to center, tucking the tailbone, inhaling, rising up. Heel toe the feet in, core's turned on. We're going to just do a little bit of what I call slow motion marching now. So really feeling that thigh lifting to its highest point, or you can call this high stepping. So you can be a high stepper here. See if you can do this without your pelvis moving much, shifting the weight. And one more time to either side. Pausing here. Let's take a moment as we draw the energy in. We're going to lift that right leg and we're going to bring that thigh in, and we're letting the arms do all the work. So it's a bit of a bicep workout here. We're just going to lubricate the ankle and the little digits of the toes with some movement. We're going to open and close the knee a few times. And then if it works for you to keep this leg nice and extended, to let it be, cores engaged, arms may or may not come out in front. Lovely. And then we're slowly going to let that leg go. Extend that leg out, hands on the thigh, just kind of taking that head to knee posture as it's known. If you're feeling a stretch behind that knee and the hamstring area, imagining you're breathing into that. Core's engaged as you're rising back up. Pausing, noticing as we get to go to the other side. So we're drawing this in, sitting with that sense of engaged core and dignity. Say hello to your sweet little foot and ankle. Another body part to marvel about. As we open and close, maybe pointing and flexing. And then at some point, keeping that leg extended, arms coming in, Belly button drawn away from your shirt, shoulders are relaxed, chest is proud. I know there's a lot of details here. Oh yeah, and breathing. Let's not forget that. We're gonna let that leg come down, hands on the thigh, and then we're just gonna fold here. Again, breathing down the corridor of this leg. And tailbone tucked, cores engaged. We're rising up with a breath. And then you get to decide. So just kind of, here we are at the end of our movement portion of class. What still wants a little TLC or a moment on the stage of my movements? And when you're ready, just coming back, sitting back in your chair, just kind of like you're maybe allowing yourself to marinate a bit in the juice that is your life in this body. You know, the whole totality of experiences, maybe the little tender places that spoke to you in your practice today. Maybe the places that said, thank you for doing this for my care. Can you enjoy a few mindful breaths, just the simple feature of the breath, moving through the landscape of the body? Can you, again, as if you're stepping back in yourself, as if you're stepping back into that noticing capacity, as if you're noticing your body as a whole, from the ends of the toes all the way up to the very tip top of the head, front and back, sides, the whole envelope we call skin encasing this body. Can you drop into the deeper elements of the flesh, the bones, the fluids? Can you feel the aliveness of the breath in the center of it all? And then I invite you to just bring to mind one thing for which you feel appreciation, one thing for which you're grateful. It can be something that's happened or transpired recently, or something that's regularly experienced, or maybe recently new. One thing. Maybe you're feeling a sense of opening to noticing many things, and that's fine too. But can you just hold one thing, just like you're bringing it up close, as if you're holding something precious close to your heart, for which you're grateful? And for a few more breaths, as if you're bringing in the felt sense as you hold this experience, this object close. Can you breathe into the body that sense of appreciation, that sense of opening to the goodness that you've been gifted? As if you're drinking it in, Imagining it expanding a bit in your body, almost as if it could magically extend and expand to everyone here in this circle. And as we draw this to a close, again, you may or may not feel inclined to place a hand or two on this vessel of human being that you are. You may feel inclined to, again, feel the noble heart beating, or adopting the gesture of a prayer and a bow to the wisdom that you are. Namaste.